My mission here today, and I think in all of my life at this point, is to distinguish between loyalty dynamics and loyalty. And a great deal of this comes, as you know, from Invisible Loyalties, written by Ivan Naj and Geraldine Spart. And my favorite chapter in that book is the fourth one. It's on justice and society. In any case, the word loyal and the term loyalty dynamics are often used interchangeably. In fact, loyalty and loyalty dynamics are two differing spheres. Loyalty has two qualities. One is ontic, belongs to existence itself. The other functional, the loyalty that comes from being tended and fed and surviving the early days of existence. Loyalty involves strong feelings of support and allegiance. The basic unit of loyalty is one. I am devoted to you. I can be loyal or faithful to a person, to a cause, to a flag. On the other hand, loyalty dynamics focus on give and take over time and in the moment, or it can be called reciprocal obligations, merit, relational ethics, reciprocity, fair consideration, and balances of justice. And for me, ethical relationships are the heart of anything contextual. We can add and subtract different approaches. We can embrace them. We can use them in the therapy room and in our lives. But basically, there is no thing called contextual work unless it includes relational ethics. And relational ethics come from loyalty dynamics, and invisible loyalties, and our capacities to shape them from our own vision and in our own person. Loyalty dynamics focus on give and take over time. The basic unit of loyalty dynamics is two or more. Each person's voice counts, and loyalty dynamics are the cornerstone of contextual work. Now, a third aspect of loyalty are invisible loyalties. They're factors that impact both individuals and relational motivations. For example, I sat on my grandfather's lap at Passover time when I was 5 or 6 years old. He spoke of the opening of the Red Sea and the Israelites crossing it as if he himself were there. He spoke with passion and dignity and embraced people in the room who would be embraced. He also pounded it down when people spoke, when he was speaking, and made no question of the fact that he had the floor and the Israelites were crossing the Red Sea. Loyalty in and of itself is more of an allegiance from one person to another, or to a group, or to a flag. How much of yourself have you sacrificed when you're blindly loyal to another person, group, or flag? Where do you belong when you are chronically loyal to others at the expense of yourself? when you give yourself away to be like someone else without standing on your own personal ground. Justice factors are overridden when we give ourselves away. Discrete differences and disagreements are not adjudicated. I can feel loyal or devoted to a person or to a group or a movement, but feelings of allegiances and unwavering loyalties belong to one person, so to speak, who has formed a view about another person, an untested view about another person or group. Loyalty dynamics are a compilation of events, actions, and misunderstandings that beg to be addressed if we are to establish consideration between two or more parties who have been in relationship to each other. Now, I carry a basic prejudice at this point of my life. The basic prejudice is no one talks to each other at a meaningful level. That's a huge generalization, but I would stand by that. It is very, very rare to have people engage at a level of depth that is meaningful and not simply a offering of information. From my perspective, there are three dynamics, three dimensions to loyalty dynamics, which can be illustrated through phases of marriage. And those loyalty dynamics are before the fact, during the fact, and after the fact. Before the fact is a prelude, a mixture of laughter and tears. Before the fact is a flooded pool of anticipation, full of childlike hopes for perfect love, for a nondescript haven of safety, for a golden guarantee of ease and comfort and protection. Before the fact may be the onset of ill-considered ambitions, a quest for listless contentment, a delusional demand for ideal happiness. Before the fact can also be a wild surge of renewed imagination and a jump-off point for realistic hope and fresh creation. So if you use marriage, early marriage as a paradigm, that's what often happens. Now, during the fact, is an instant in time and space from which to reach for something more. This day, this hour, this second, this moment, this nanosecond, this now where life is really lived. When choices are really made, when truth is really spoken, when trust is really honed, when touch is really grace, when consequences are really crafted. This now is when the future can break open or stay hostage to the tentacles of the past. Marriage, or in fact any relationship that approximates intimacy and distance as well, is often seen through rose-colored lenses. Marriage can be romanticized, and with its rich soil and sun-drenched myth, it seems to be a natural context for loving kindness. I use the word loving kindness as a legacy from a man named Rabbi Yohanan ben Zakkai, a first century Jesus-like figure. The word is hesed, loving kindness. But the opposite is often true. Not necessarily out of meanness of spirit or contrariness, but out of gross carelessness. Carelessness born of boredom. sustained outside pressures, misuse of time, and more than almost anything else, two people's inability to disagree with each other without knee-jerk reactions of blame and rancor. And then another way of looking at our lives before the fact, during the fact, and after the fact. After the fact is a time when it feels too late. After the fact is a limbo, which over time we meant to reach out and withdrew instead. We fell silent when we might have uttered a single word. We used anger to respond to our partner's heartfelt, if inchoate, pleas. After the fact is a limbo, a time often too late to redeem. So in our work and in our lives, on a contextual basis, we are always dealing with before the fact, during the fact, and after the fact.